second grade. Today we're going to be learning more about telling time. We've done in the past, we've done telling time where we told just the hours, the o'clock. We learned about the 6, the 30, and we've learned about the 5s, that each of the numbers we count by 5s. Well, today we're going to be learning how to tell time to the exact minute. So if you look on a clock, you will see not only are there big numbers, but there's also these little tick marks in between. And those tell exact minutes. Remember how many minutes are there in an hour? There's 60 minutes in an hour. So there's 60 tick marks all the way around the clock. See, you can see it on our little green clock that we use sometimes. There's little ticks in between the time. Okay, so if the big hand, remember the large hand tells the hour, or the small hand tells the hour, tells what the hour is, and the big hand tells the minutes. Now, if the big hand was at one of the big numbers, we just count by 5s, right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and back at the 12 is o'clock. That's the start of a new hour, okay? But if the big hand is pointing to one of the small tick marks, we count by 1s. So here, this big hand is pointing to the 3. The little hand isn't quite to this 1, isn't quite to 5, so we're just going to count the tick marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this time would be the hour of 3 and 4 minutes. Okay? If I changed my hands, what hour is my big hand pointing to now? It's pointing to 6, so it would be 6. And now let's take a look at the minute hand. It's in between the 4 and the 5, and it's pointing to one of the tick marks. So we're going to count by 5s until we have to start counting by 1s. So 5, 10, 15, 20. We can't go to 25 because that's too far. So 20, 21, 22, 23. 6, 23. It's kind of like counting the degrees. How in between the 2 is just 1 degree. All right, let's try another one. Okay, so now where's my hour hand pointing to? Actually, technically for this one, let Mrs. Tussie fix that. Technically for this one, my hour hand should be right here. It should be in between the 1 and the 2, which means we're going to go with 1. We always go with the smaller number when it's between 2. And now let's look at our big hand. It's pointing at a small tick mark. So we're going to count by 5s, and then we'll count by 1s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 46, 47. 147. So you count by 5s until you need to switch to the 1s. Okay? So let's try one more, and then we'll take a look at your page. Let's see, let's go. Okay, so my small hand, it's between the 5 and the 6. So we go with 5 o'clock. And let's look at our big hand. Where's our big hand? Okay, we got to count by 5s until we can switch. 5, 10, 11, 12. This one is 5, 12 if we were counting by the minutes. Now look at your paper. It's page 326. It's the back of lesson 160, 326. And it gives you a bunch of clocks, okay? And it starts you off, look at the big hand, the very first clock. It starts you off with what hour? What hour is the small hand pointing to? If you said 5, you're correct. Good job. Okay, now we're gonna look at our big hand. Oh, our big hand isn't on a small mark, it's on a big one. It's on the number 2. How many minutes we can count by 5s? 5, 10. Very good, so that's 10 minutes. So you should have the hour is 5 and the minutes is 10. Now the next one, look, they've just moved the big hand. They moved it down just 1 minute. It's 1 minute past the 2, so it's still 5 o'clock. And we count by 5s, 5, 10, and then we count by 1s, 11. Okay, same thing for the next one. Hour is still 5, see the big hand's still at the 5? But if you look, you're counting, your big hand moved again past the 2. 5, 10, now we're gonna count by 1s, 11, 12, 5, 12. And each time, the big hand's gonna move just 1 more, okay? So you're gonna count by 1s after you've counted by 5s. Good luck.